Professor Brian Ford, microbiologist, is here. Hi, Professor. It's nice to talk to you.
Well, I'll tell you, there are several things that could be done which nobody has ever suggested. And let me give you a couple. One of them would be to use dilute bleach and not that alcohol stuff to sterilise your hands. It's very cheap, it's very easy, it's very reliable. The alcohol stuff, sometimes people have been trying to drink it, bless their little hearts. I hope their livers survive the shock. And
I think advice from the American president, which was an awful piece of advice, yeah.
Oh, indeed, yes, have a glass of bleach. I thought it was wonderful. But the alcohol stuff is actually inflammable, and the flame is almost invisible. And there have been cases I've heard in America of nasty accidents caused by it. So I would recommend a little bowl of dilute bleach and a cloth. If you're worried about your shopping or anything else, just give it a little wipe with the cloth, and you know that it's going to be safe. Secondly, we're going on about masks, but viruses are hundreds of times smaller than the smallest hole in the best mask. And a significant proportion of cases are transmitted by touch, by people, holding a handrail or a doorknob or something like that sort, the edge of the bar if you go to buy a drink or wherever else it may be. I would recommend people to start wearing those cheap disposable cotton gloves, the kind that you use to look at old books and rare jewellery. You can buy them very cheaply. The price will go up now I've said this. But in fact, if you wear cotton gloves, that will cut down your chance of picking up things.
So the essence of what you're saying then is to what we keep a distance from people and also reduce your hand contact that could potentially pass the virus on to your face.
I mean, I've seen people wearing latex gloves, sort of surgical gloves, but they're a bad idea because the moist and warm environment that gets trapped underneath them makes the bacteria grow on your skin. But cotton gloves don't pass viruses with any great degree of efficiency and are very, very useful. Tell you what else I'd do, and that is I would never have allowed anybody suffering from COVID-19 to go within a mile of a regular hospital. We open hospitals like the Nightingales, and we're going to use those for overflows. No, they should be isolation hospitals. People with the virus should have gone only there, which is where they had specialist nurses lined up and they had respirators. Nobody should have ever gone near a regular hospital because the number of people who picked it up from hospitals and have not gone for tests and for surgery and for interventions that they should have gone because they were frightened of catching it is tens of thousands of people. The whole point is you've got to keep people with the virus away from people without the virus. You don't need a lockdown. You've got to track people and trace people and make sure that the virus is kept away from everybody else as far as you possibly can.
Yeah, but practically how possible is that? I mentioned this to someone earlier we're proceeding in a manner which would suggest we're 100% confident a vaccine will be found, and that is by no means
It certainly isn't 100%, I can tell you.
Yeah, so exactly that. So should we, I guess you've seen this letter, this open letter that has been sent to the Prime Minister and his colleagues.
I've heard of it.
Yeah. Do you think the current approach is wrong? Do you think actually more targeted measures, as is said in the letter, that protect the most vulnerable, whilst not adversely impacting those not at risk, do you think those are a better way to?
Well, we know that it is. I mean, look at some of the communist countries, and I'm not suggesting for a moment that we adopt their appallingly autocratic sense of government, but in a communist country you just lay down the law and nobody has any chance to protest about personal freedoms. So in China, for example, they immediately started developing 4 different types of vaccine, and absolutely everybody who was contacted was traced. They used facial recognition cameras in the street. They had automated messages sent to people's phones because the phones would automatically pick up whether they'd been in contact. And now they're not going to use the vaccine because they're virtually back to normal. The virus has almost completely been conquered. It was much the same.
I mean, we don't know the other health impacts as yet that might have had on the Chinese population involved, and I guess we've got to focus on the setup we have in this country.
Yes, but you see, you're not allowed to go and drive dangerously in case someone gets hurt. You're not allowed to keep a dangerous dog in case someone gets hurt. You can't go running around the streets with a 9.5mm hand weapon in case somebody gets hurt. And we have to recognise that you shouldn't be allowed to go running around the street with a dangerous virus either. We have got to separate the people with the virus from the people without. There's no need for a lockdown, but if people only listened to advice and did, as I've suggested, if we had isolation hospitals, which is where only the COVID patients went, then our regular hospitals would be working perfectly normally. We have said time and time again that we've got a world-class track and trace system. Ours may be the worst in the world. There are dozens of them in use and have been since March, and the others work perfectly well. But remember, to be a politician in Britain, you don't need to be experienced in anything. I think we've got four or possibly five.
And to be fair, without getting too deep, I'm not a government mouthpiece here, but we did sit and listen to the chief medical officer and the chief scientific advisor today. So those were the people delivering the news. Thank you, Brian Ford, microbiologist, with his own take on that. I wonder what yours is. 81333 HW at the start.